3 weeks into Captain Valara's visit to Earth, the diplomatic team had made significant progress. The framework for the Earth-Zoran alliance was taking shape with agreements on trade, scientific exchange, and cultural missions. Then everything changed. Lisa was awakened in the middle of the night by urgent knocking. Security Chief Diane Foster stood at her door, her expression grim. The long-range observatory detected multiple ships entering the system, she said without preamble. They aren't Zoran. Lisa dressed quickly and hurried to the command center. Captain Valara was already there studying the sensor readings, her posture rigid. Draxians, she confirmed. A battle fleet, 5 destroyers and a command carrier. They will reach Earth orbit in 6 hours. Secretary General Davis turned to Lisa. You said the Zorans would inform the Draxians of our alliance discussions? They were supposed to. Lisa looked at Valara. The captain met her gaze. The diplomatic transmission was sent, but it appears they decided to respond with force rather than words. This is a typical Draxian tactic. They believe the first to strike has already won half the battle. What are their capabilities? General Martinez asked, her weathered face tense. Their weapons are similar to Zoran technology, Valara explained. Energy weapons, kinetic barriers, planetary bombardment capability. Their soldiers are smaller than Zorans but more numerous. They prefer overwhelming force. Can we contact the Empress for assistance? Lisa asked. Valara shook her head. Even at maximum speed, the nearest Zoran battle group is 4 days away. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth had advanced since the discovery of alien life, accelerating military technology development, based on what they had learned from Zoran examples. But they were still no match for a full alien battle fleet. Then we faced them alone. Secretary General Davis said, her voice steady. General Martinez, implement Defense Protocol Sigma. The general nodded and began issuing orders. Military forces worldwide went to high-alert orbital defense platforms, powered up civilian evacuation to hardened shelters. Lisa pulled Valara aside. What do the Draxians want? To prevent our alliance, Valara replied. They fear united Zoran human forces would shift the balance of power. If they conquer Earth or force your surrender, they eliminate that threat. And if we resist, Valara's expression darkened, they will make an example of your world. Lisa thought quickly. We need to talk to them. Buy time. Draxians respect strength, not words, Valara countered. Then we show them strength. Lisa said, but first we talk. 4 hours later, the Draxian fleet had reached lunar orbit. A transmission came through, on all frequencies worldwide. Their ships appeared on every screen, their sleek designs resembling predatory sea creatures. The Draxian commander appeared on screen, smaller than the Zorans, with crimson skin and a crest of spines along his head. His eyes were black without pupils. People of Earth. He began, his voice translated into all Earth languages simultaneously. I am Supreme Commander Zarkos of the Draxian hegemony. Your world stands at a crossroads. Submit to Draxian authority now and become a protectorate under our benevolent guidance. Resist and face extinction. You have 1 Earth hour to surrender. All planetary leaders must appear before me to pledge fealty. The transmission ended. Charming fellow, Secretary General Davis remarked. Dryly, options. We could stall, one advisor suggested. Pretend to negotiate while our forces prepare. The Draxians will see through that, Valara said. They expect fear and submission. Any delay will be interpreted as deception. Lisa had been quiet, thinking, what if we invite Commander Zarkos to Earth not for our surrender but for negotiations? He will refuse, Valara said. Not if we appeal to his ego, Lisa countered. And not if you extend the invitation? Captain Valara looked surprised. Me, a Zoran Imperial Guard captain requesting his presence, Lisa explained. He would be curious. At minimum, it might buy us time. The Secretary General nodded. Do it. The transmission was sent. Captain Valara formally requesting Commander Zarkos' presence for high-level diplomatic discussions regarding the future of Earth. To everyone's surprise, he accepted. He wishes to demonstrate his superiority, Valara explained. By accepting my invitation, he shows he does not fear Zorans or humans. A Draxian shuttle descended to the Geneva compound, 6 guards accompanying Commander Zarkos. His crimson skin glistened under the lights, his black eyes taking in everything. The meeting took place in the Grand Conference Room. Secretary General Davis, Captain Valara, Lisa and General Martinez represented Earth Commander Zarkos sat across from them, his guards standing at attention. This meeting is pointless, Zarkos began. I am here merely to accept your surrender in person. We have not agreed to surrender. Secretary General Davis replied calmly. We have invited you to discuss alternatives. Zarkos laughed a harsh sound. There are no alternatives. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships. Your planet has no defenses that would concern us. Perhaps. Lisa interjected. But you might be interested to know that we have shared all our information about Draxian fleet movements and capabilities with our allies. The Zorans are days away, Zarkos dismissed. By then, Earth will be under our control. What it referring to the Zorans? Lisa said, pulling out a tablet. Computer activate protocol Omega. The lights dimmed briefly, then returned. A holographic display appeared showing the Draxian fleet in orbit. Then something else appeared on the screen. Multiple heat signatures rising from Earth's surface. What is this? Zarkos demanded. While the Zorans were negotiating with our diplomats, General Martinez explained, our military was studying their technology, adapting it, integrating it with our own. The hologram showed the heat signatures clearly now Earth missiles, but unlike any Draxian had seen before. Fusion drives, Valara whispered, recognizing the technology. With Zoran guidance systems. Impossible. Zarkos spat. You could not have developed such weapons so quickly, Commander. Lisa said, leaning forward. You should understand something about humans. We have been preparing for alien invasion for centuries, before we ever met aliens. We have thousands of movies, books, games, all imagining this exact scenario. When the Zorans arrived, we accelerated programs that were already decades in development. On the screen, the missiles approached the Draxian fleet. Zarkos reached for his communicator, but Lisa continued, Your communications are being jammed. A simple technology, really. We just needed to identify your frequencies. This is an act of war, Zarkos snarled. No, Commander, Secretary General Davis corrected. This is self-defense. You brought a battle fleet to our home. You threatened extinction. Those missiles are merely our response. If you destroy my ships, the Draxian hegemony will send 100 more. Perhaps, Lisa acknowledged. But will they send you as commander again after you lost an entire fleet? Or will someone else take your place, someone who might negotiate instead of threaten? Zarkos stared at her, his black eyes unreadable. Then he turned to Captain Valara. The Zorans have taught them well. Actually, Commander, Valara replied, I believe they are teaching us. The missiles never struck the Draxian ships. They were never meant to. They approached within 1 kilometer, then held position, a clear demonstration of Earth's targeting capabilities and restraint. A warning. Secretary General Davis explained to Commander Zarkos, we can defend ourselves, but we would prefer peaceful relations with all spacefaring species. Zarkos was silent for a long moment, calculating. His guards shifted nervously, hands near their weapons. Captain Valara tensed, ready to protect the human delegation. You have surprised me. Zarkos finally said, few species have shown such resolve when faced with Draxian might. Perhaps there is value in discussion after all. The next 12 hours were intense negotiations, Lisa observed. As Secretary General Davis, General Martinez, and surprisingly Captain Valara engaged with Commander Zarkos. The Draxian was a skilled diplomat beneath his aggressive exterior. The hegemony cannot allow a full Zoran-human alliance, he insisted. The power imbalance would be too great. Then perhaps a 3-way agreement, Lisa suggested, speaking for the first time in hours. a mutual non-aggression pact between Earth, the Zoran Empire, and the Draxian hegemony. Zarkos considered this. The Zorans would never agree. They might, Valara said. If it meant peace in this sector, the Empress is pragmatic. By morning, they had drafted a preliminary agreement Earth would maintain neutrality in the Zoran-Draxian conflict while developing relationships with both species. Limited trade and cultural exchange would be permitted with both. The missile defense system would remain as a guarantee of Earth security. Commander Zarkos returned to his fleet, which withdrew to the edge of the solar system, where it would remain until the Zoran delegation arrived to finalize the three-way agreement. Lisa found herself standing beside Captain Valara, watching the sunrise over Lake Geneva. The alien was quiet, her golden eyes reflecting the orange light. "You knew," Valara finally said. "You knew Earth had developed those weapons." Lisa nodded. "Some of them, the rest were still experimental. We accelerated deployment when the Draxians arrived, and you did not tell me." "You are the Empress envoy, Captain," Lisa replied. "Your duty is to her first. Would you have told me everything about Zoran defenses?" Valara made a sound that might have been a chuckle. "No, I would not have. I begin to understand why the Empress finds humans so intriguing. You appear harmless, yet harbor hidden strengths." "Not so hidden now," Lisa pointed out. "No. But I suspect there are more surprises. Yet you chose not to fire on the Draxian ships when you could have destroyed them." "That was unexpected. Humans have learned from our own bloody history," Lisa said. "Violence should be the last resort, not the first. We wanted to show strength, not brutality." Valara nodded slowly. A distinction many Zorans do not understand, including perhaps the Empress. 3 days later, the Zoran diplomatic vessel arrived carrying representatives of Empress Kilaric's. Negotiations began in earnest between the three species. Lisa found herself mediating between ancient enemies. "The Draxians cannot be trusted," the Zoran ambassador insisted. During one heated session, "They have violated every treaty they ever signed. And the Zorans have never broken faith." Commander Zarkos replied sarcastically. "Shall we discuss the Trilaxian incident?" Lisa raised her hand. "We are not here to relitigate past conflicts. We are here to create a new framework for cooperation, one that benefits all three of our peoples." The discussions continued for weeks. Sometimes progress seemed impossible. The weight of centuries of conflict between Zorans and Draxians threatened to derail everything. But slowly, guided by Lisa's patient diplomacy, they moved forward. Captain Valara remained on Earth as the Empress' personal representative. She and Lisa spent many evenings discussing the negotiations. "You are accomplishing the impossible," Valara said one night as they walked through the diplomatic compound garden. "Zorans and Draxians have been enemies since before your species discovered fire. Sometimes it takes an outsider to help old enemies find common ground." Lisa replied, "We have no history with either of you, no grievances, no prejudices. And yet you have your own conflicts. Your world is divided into nations that have fought countless wars." Lisa nodded. "Yes, but we have also built institutions for cooperation. The United Nations trade agreements, cultural exchanges. We know both conflict and reconciliation. Perhaps that gives us a perspective neither Zorans nor Draxians have." Valara was silent for a moment. "The Empress was wise to seek alliance with humans, not for your weapons, but for this, for your ability to see beyond ancient hatreds." On the final day of negotiations, the three parties gathered in the Grand Hall of the United Nations in New York. The Secretary-General, Captain Valara, Commander Zarkos, and representatives from all Earth nations were present. The Tripartite Accord, as it was called, established a framework for peaceful coexistence between the three species. Lisa watched the historic signing. She felt a sense of pride Earth had not merely survived first contact with two powerful alien species. They had transformed a potential conquest into an opportunity for peace. Later at the reception, Valara approached her. "The Empress has sent new orders. I am to remain on Earth as the permanent Zoran ambassador." Lisa smiled. "Congratulations, Ambassador. That is a great honor. It is, Valara agreed. Though I suspect it is also because the Empress wishes to keep close watch on Earth. She remains fascinated by your species and perhaps a little concerned. Concerned. You achieved in weeks what Zoran diplomats could not accomplish in centuries' peace with the Draxians. It makes her wonder what else humans might accomplish. 6 months later, Lisa stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, the first joint Earth-Zoran-Draxian project, a space station in Earth orbit dedicated to scientific and cultural exchange. Below her, Earth glowed blue and green. Against the darkness of space, construction had begun on the next phase, an interstellar port that would connect Earth to the wider galactic community. Captain Valara, now Ambassador Valara, joined her at the viewport. Your people have adapted quickly to their new reality. Humans are good at adapting, Lisa replied. It's our greatest strength. Not your only strength, Valara observed. The Empress has a saying about humans now. When she speaks of Earth, she says, "Look not at their size, but at their shadow." Lisa smiled. A wise Empress. Indeed, though some in the Empire still question her decision to ally with Earth rather than conquer it, they see only your primitive technology, your physical weakness. And what do you see? Ambassador Valara turned her golden eyes to Lisa. I see a species that turned two invading forces into allies, that showed strength through restraint, that builds bridges where others build walls. I see a species that may one day teach the rest of us a better way to live among the stars. Lisa looked back at Earth, the cradle of humanity, now taking its first steps into a much larger universe. I hope you are right. We have much to learn, but perhaps also something to teach. As diplomats and scientists of 3 species worked together aboard the station, Lisa Morgan, diplomat from Earth, knew that the future held challenges. The galaxy was vast, filled with wonders and dangers, but humanity would face it as they always had, adapting, learning, growing, and perhaps showing even the oldest civilizations among the stars that there was always another way forward, beyond conflict, beyond conquest, toward a future where different species could look at each other and see not enemies but possibilities. Lisa Morgan never expected to represent humanity, but fate had other plans when the massive Zoran vessel entered Earth orbit. The diplomat stood barely 5 feet tall, yet carried herself with unshakable confidence as she boarded the alien ship. Her brown hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her blue suit was pressed to perfection. She gripped her small briefcase tightly as the transport pod carried her toward the enormous mothership. Earth had only learned of alien life 3 months ago when the Zoran scout ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. The governments of the world scrambled to form a unified response, choosing their best and brightest to make first contact. Lisa had been selected not for her physical strength, but for her brilliant mind and unmatched diplomatic skills. The transport pod docked with a soft hiss. Lisa took a deep breath as the doors slid open, revealing 2 tall alien guards. Their purple-scaled skin gleamed under the harsh lights. Their 4 arms each held different weapons, and their golden eyes watched her with open suspicion. This is it, Lisa thought. No human has ever set foot on an alien vessel. The guards led her through winding corridors. Lisa carefully observed everything, memorizing the layout as she had been trained to do. The ship was enormous, with ceilings 3 times higher than human buildings. The air smelled of something like cinnamon and metal. They arrived at massive doors carved with symbols Lisa recognized from the transmissions. Zoran battle history. The door swung open to reveal the throne room. The Zoran Empress Calarix towered over Lisa, her scaled skin shimmering under the strange blue lights. Her 6 arms moved in graceful patterns as she spoke through the translator. Her voice came out like honey mixed with broken glass. So the humans send a tiny female to negotiate the terms of their surrender. How amusing. Calarix leaned forward on her crystalline throne, studying Lisa with 4 golden eyes. Your species must not value this meeting if they sent someone so small. Lisa smiled calmly. Size can be deceiving, Your Highness. On Earth, some of our smallest creatures are the most deadly. The alien guards shifted nervously, their hands tightening. On plasma weapons. The Empress hissed a sound that might have been laughter. You have one solar rotation to convince me not to turn your world into a mining colony. Kilarix waved a dismissive hand. Until then, you will be confined to the diplomatic. Quarters Guard Captain Valara will escort you. Lisa had expected this. She knew from studying the limited information they had on Zorans that displays of force were central to their culture. They would not respect humanity until given reason to captain. Valara stood even taller than the Empress, her muscular body covered in ceremonial armor. Unlike the other Zorans, she watched Lisa with something like curiosity rather than contempt. Her scales were a deeper purple, almost black, and she bore scars across her face that suggested many battles. This way, human. Valara said, her voice lower and less harsh than the Empress. Do not attempt to explore beyond your assigned area. The consequences would be unpleasant. Lisa nodded, following the captain through more corridors. Unlike the others, Valara seemed to match her pace rather than striding ahead, forcing Lisa to run. The diplomatic quarters were surprisingly comfortable with Earth furnishings that must have been replicated from scans. The window showed Earth hanging like a blue jewel against the blackness of space. Your meals will be delivered, Valara said, pausing at the door. The atmosphere has been adjusted to your biology. You should be comfortable. Thank you, Captain, Lisa said. I look forward to our discussions tomorrow. Valara tilted her head slightly, then left the room. The door slid shut with a click. Lisa heard the lock engage. Lisa immediately began studying the room, finding the surveillance devices hidden in the walls. She pulled out her tablet and began reviewing the extensive files on Zoran culture, behavior, and biology. Earth had been gathering information since first contact, preparing for this moment. Hours later, there was a chime at the door. Captain Valara entered carrying a tray of food. The items resembled Earth cuisine, though the colors were slightly off. You should eat, Valara said, placing the tray on a table. Your biology requires frequent sustenance. Lisa nodded. Would you join me, Captain? I would appreciate learning more about your people. Valara seemed surprised by the request, but after a moment she sat across from Lisa. Her large frame made the human furniture look like child's toys. Your people are strange, Valara said, watching Lisa eat with fascination. The Empress believes you will beg for mercy by morning. And what do you believe, Captain? Lisa asked, taking a sip of the water which tasted faintly of minerals not found on Earth. Valara tilted her head. I think there is more to humans than we were told. May I ask who told you about us? Lisa asked carefully. We have been observing your world for some time, Valara replied. Your broadcasts, your wars, your strange customs. The Science Guild believes humans are primitive and violent. The War Guild sees potential allies. The Commerce Guild sees only resources to exploit. And what do you see? Lisa asked. Valara was quiet for a long moment. I see a species that survived, despite having no natural weapons, no scales, no claws. A species that should have been prey but somehow became the apex predator of their world. That is interesting. Lisa smiled. Perhaps tomorrow I can show the Empress why that is. After Valara left, Lisa continued her preparations. She knew tomorrow would determine the fate of humanity. She had one chance to convince the Zorans that humans were not to be underestimated. As she looked out at Earth in the distance, Lisa felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. 7 billion lives depending on her words. She would not fail them. The throne room was arranged differently this time. A large oval table had been placed in the center with chairs sized for both Zorans and humans. Lisa noticed the Empress sat at the head, but not on her throne, instead on a chair only slightly larger than the others. Diplomat Morgan. Kilarix began using Lisa's name for the first time. I have consulted with the guild leaders. We propose a formal alliance between the Zoran Empire and Earth. Lisa kept her expression neutral despite her surprise. This was more than she had hoped for. I would be pleased to discuss the terms of such an alliance. For the next several hours, they negotiated. Zoran representatives from each guild presented their interests and concerns. Lisa carefully represented Earth's position, knowing that every word could have enormous consequences. The Science Guild wanted access to human genetic diversity. The Commerce Guild wanted new markets. The War Guild wanted military cooperation. Lisa navigated these requests, balancing cooperation with protection of human interests. We can agree to limited scientific exchange, she said to the Science Guild leader. But human genetic material remains under human control. To the Commerce Guild, Earth welcomes trade, but some industries must be protected to ensure our economic independence. And to the War Guild, most carefully of all, joint military exercises can benefit both our peoples, but Earth will maintain sovereign control of its defense forces. Throughout the negotiations, Lisa was aware of Captain Valara standing behind the Empress, watching with those intelligent golden eyes. When they broke for a recess, Valara approached her. "You negotiate well for someone so small," she said, with what Lisa had come to recognize. "As respect, size isn't everything, Captain," Lisa replied with a smile. "So you have proven." Valara tilted her head. The Empress is impressed. She has not had to work this hard for an agreement in many cycles. By the end of the day, they had drafted preliminary terms of alliance. Lisa would return to Earth with the proposal for the United Earth government's approval. A Zoran delegation would follow. As Lisa prepared to depart, the Empress requested a private meeting. "You have represented your people with skill, diplomat," Killerick said when they were alone, "except for her personal guards and Valara. Few species have earned the respect of the Zoran Empire so quickly. Earth appreciates the opportunity for peaceful cooperation," Lisa replied diplomatically. "There is something you should know," the Empress continued, her four eyes blinking in sequence. "The Zoran Empire is not the only power in this sector of the galaxy. The Draxians control nearly as many worlds as we do. They have been our enemies for generations. They will see alliance with Earth as a threat." Lisa absorbed this new information carefully. "Are you suggesting Earth may face danger from these Draxians?" "It is inevitable," the Empress said. "They will test your strength as we did, but perhaps more directly. Then we should include mutual defense provisions in our alliance," Lisa suggested. The Empress made a gesture of agreement. "You understand quickly. I will assign Captain Valara to accompany you back to Earth as my personal envoy. She will provide information about the Draxians and other potential threats." Lisa glanced at Valara, whose expression revealed nothing. "We would welcome Captain Valara's expertise." Later, as they boarded the transport pod that would take them back to Earth, Valara seemed uncomfortable in the small space. "You do not need to accompany me, Captain," Lisa said. "You could send the information with me and remain here." "The Empress has given me an assignment," Valara replied stiffly. "I will carry it out." "Is this your first time leaving your ship?" Lisa asked, noticing how the captain kept glancing at the viewport. "I have led ground assaults on 7 worlds," Valara said defensively. Then, after a pause, "But I have never been to a world I did not intend to conquer." Lisa smiled. "Earth will be quite different then." The journey back to Earth was quick in the advanced Zoran shuttle. Lisa spent the time briefing Valara on human customs and preparing her for the intense scrutiny she would face as the first Zoran to visit Earth. "Your people will fear me," Valara observed. "Some will," Lisa acknowledged. "But others will be fascinated. Many humans have dreamed of meeting aliens for centuries." "In peaceful circumstances," Valara added. "Yes, in peaceful circumstances." When they entered Earth's atmosphere, Lisa pointed out landmarks to Valara. The vast oceans, the mountain ranges, the sprawling cities. The captain watched with undisguised interest. "So much water," she commented. "Zoran is primarily desert, with small seas." They landed at the specially constructed diplomatic facility in Geneva, Switzerland. Security forces surrounded the landing pad but maintained a respectful distance. "Remember," Lisa said, as the doors prepared to open, "many of these humans have never seen a non-human intelligence. They may react with fear, but they mean no disrespect." Valara straightened to her full 8-foot height. "I am a captain of the Imperial Guard. I have faced plasma fire and acid beasts I can handle." Human staring. Lisa smiled. "Of course, Captain. When they emerged from the shuttle, a ripple of gasps moved through the assembled officials. Valara towered over everyone, her purple scales gleaming in the sunlight, her forearms held carefully at her sides to appear non-threatening. A woman stepped forward from the officials, Karen Davis, the Secretary General of the United Earth Government. She was tall for a human with dark skin and close-cropped gray hair. Despite being in her 60s, she stood, straight-backed and confident. "On behalf of Earth, I welcome our first visitor from the stars," she said formally. "Captain Valara, we are honored by your presence." Valara performed the formal Zoran greeting, bowing her upper body while keeping her eyes forward. "The Zoran Empire extends greetings to Earth. The Empress Kilarix sends her personal regards." Lisa watched the exchange with pride. This moment, the first peaceful meeting between human and alien on Earth soil, would be recorded in history, books for generations. The next few days were a whirlwind of meetings, briefings, and diplomatic functions. Lisa remained at Valara's side, helping the alien navigate human customs. The captain adapted quickly, learning to modulate her strength when shaking hands and ducking through doorways designed for shorter beings. World leaders arrived in Geneva to meet the Zoran representative. Media coverage was constant, though security remained tight. Public enthusiasm was overwhelming. Crowds gathered outside the diplomatic compound, hoping for a glimpse of the alien visitor. "Your people are not what I expected," Valara said one evening as they reviewed the day's meetings. "The Empress believed humans would be fearful and hostile." "Some are," Lisa acknowledged. "But most humans are curious by nature. We want to learn to understand, to connect." "Even with those who came to conquer?" Valara asked quietly. Lisa met her golden eyes. "We prefer friends to enemies, Captain, but we prepare for both." Lisa barely slept that night. Her mind raced with strategies and information. She had studied Zoran psychology extensively and knew that strength was everything to them. But humans had a different kind of strength, one that the aliens might not recognize. When Captain Valara arrived to escort her back to the throne room, Lisa was ready. She wore the same blue suit, but now she carried only a small data cube. "No weapons," Valara observed. "I don't need weapons," Lisa replied. The throne room was more crowded today. Various Zoran officials lined the walls, their scales in different shades representing different guilds. Lisa recognized the markings from her studies. War Guild, Science Guild, Commerce Guild, all watching her with their golden eyes. The Empress Kilarix sat regally on her throne, looking down at Lisa with amusement. "Has the human female come to beg for mercy?" she asked, her multiple arms gesturing dramatically. "Perhaps you bring tribute?" Lisa placed the cube on the floor and activated it. A hologram appeared, showing Earth history, but not the peaceful cultural achievements the Zorans might have expected. Instead, it showed humanity at war with itself. Century after century of brutal innovation, all in the art of killing. Humans have been fighting each other since we first picked up rocks, Lisa explained as images of world wars, nuclear tests, and modern combat flashed between them. "We spent thousands of years perfecting ways to destroy each other, while your species evolved natural weapons. We had to create ours." The Empress shifted uncomfortably as the hologram showed the devastating power of nuclear weapons, biological warfare, and orbital kinetic strikes. "You see, Your Highness, humans might seem weak individually, but we never fight alone. And we never stop improving our methods." Lisa stepped forward. "The question isn't whether we could defeat a Zoran invasion. The question is whether either of our species would survive what comes after." Lisa advanced the presentation, showing simulations of what would happen if the Zorans attempted to invade Earth. The projections showed massive casualties on both sides. Even if you destroyed our major cities, humans would continue fighting from the mountains, the forests, the deserts. We have prepared for alien invasion for centuries in our fiction and our military planning. We are always ready for war. A low murmur spread through the Zoran officials. The War Guild representatives were leaning forward with interest. "You would destroy your own world," Kilarix stated, her eyes blinking rapidly. "We nearly have several times," Lisa replied. "And we weren't even fighting aliens then. We were just fighting ourselves." Imagine what would happen if we had an external threat to unite against. The throne room fell silent. The guards looked to their empress, whose expression had transformed from arrogance to calculation. Perhaps we have been hasty. Killerix finally said, I propose an alliance instead. Zoran technology combined with human military innovation could dominate this sector of the galaxy. Lisa had anticipated this response. I am authorized to discuss terms for peaceful cooperation. But first, the Zoran fleet must withdraw to beyond lunar orbit as a show of good faith. The Empress conferred briefly with her advisors in their clicking language Lisa could not understand. Finally, she turned back. Very well. The fleet will withdraw, but you will remain aboard as our honored guest until negotiations are complete. Lisa nodded, knowing this was both an honor and a way to keep her as hostage. I accept these terms. The Empress rose, signaling the end of the audience. Captain Valara stepped forward to escort Lisa back to her quarters. Your display was impressive, Valara said. As they walked the corridors, the War Guild is particularly interested in human battle tactics. I hope they also understood the message that war with humans would be costly. Lisa replied. Valara made a sound that might have been a laugh. Oh, they understood. Some are disappointed, others are relieved. I think the Empress is primarily intrigued. She has not faced a real challenge in many cycles. Back in her quarters, Lisa sent a coded message to Earth Command informing them of the development. The Zoran fleet would withdraw beyond the moon, a significant victory. However, she knew this was just the beginning. Over the next days, Lisa met with representatives from the various Zoran guilds. The Science Guild was fascinated by human adaptability. The Commerce Guild saw potential for trade. The War Guild wanted to learn about human weapons. Lisa carefully navigated these meetings, revealing enough to keep the Zorans interested, but never enough to give away Earth's advantages. She learned more about their society as well. Zoran society was rigidly hierarchical, with females holding all positions of power. Males were regarded as little more than breeding stock. Their culture valued strength above all else. But that strength took many forms. Physical combat, technological superiority, economic dominance, all were paths to status. Captain Valara became Lisa's regular escort, and gradually something like friendship developed between them. Why does your species spend so much time creating art? Valara asked one evening as they shared a meal. It serves no battle purpose. It serves many purposes. Lisa explained. It helps us process emotions, share experiences, preserve history. Some believe art is what makes us truly human. And what do you believe? Valara asked. I believe understanding other cultures is the first step to peace, Lisa replied, which is why I have so many questions about Zorans. Valara seemed pleased by this. Ask your questions then, diplomat. Lisa learned that Zorans lived for nearly 300 Earth years, that they had colonized 12 planets, that their empire had existed for thousands of years without significant challenge, that they had encountered 17 other sentient species but none as paradoxical as humans. Your people are physically weak, yet you dominate your world. Valara said, you fight amongst yourselves, yet unite against external threats. You create beautiful art and terrible weapons. You are fascinating. Lisa smiled. I could say the same about Zorans. On the 7th day, Lisa was summoned back to the throne room. The Empress had made her decision.